All right, so if you're not aware, Upwork recently just made a huge announcement about a ton of new features that they've added to Upwork, both for clients and for freelancers. And there's a ton of new features that they've added. We've gone ahead and we've looked at the article. It's a super long article with tons of features, but we're going to talk about the ones that you're going to want to know about if you're a freelancer on Upwork. So, if you look at this article, which we're going to link below in the description, the very first thing that you see is the word AI, which is not surprising. Upwork has been pushing AI for quite a while now, but the very first headline that you see is AI IQ, AI enhanced, human led. So Upwork is going to be making a huge push into promoting the idea that their freelancers are super powered by using AI. And they're also going to be, you're going to see in this update that most of their changes are going to be all about how they can use AI to make things easier for freelancers and for clients. At least that's their intention.
So the first point here, it says bring clients, keep every dollar. So it looks like you can bring clients onto Upwork and you don't have to pay any additional fees, which is great and directly in line with what Tyler and I always recommend, especially if you're a freelancer new to Upwork or you're trying to get some more projects under your belt. What you can do is take happy clients, bring them on to Upwork so that you can build some momentum, get some reviews, get some projects in a low risk type of way. So that sounds great.
Yeah, like the weird thing about this new feature is that back in the day, for those of you who were on Upwork maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they already had this as a thing where you could bring clients off of Upwork and bring them on Upwork and then have that 0% fee. So apparently they got rid of that. Now they're bringing it back. It should have never left Upwork, in my opinion. But I mean, if we are bringing clients onto the platform, then we should definitely be rewarded for that. And I think this is great. I will say you do have to be on the Freelancer Plus program to take advantage of that 0% fee. But I think if you are, again, starting out on Upwork, trying to get some work history, it's probably worth signing up for Freelancer Plus if you have clients that you're able to bring onto the platform.
So another feature that caught my attention is this feature that says be the first to apply with job alerts. And I know Upwork had some sort of third-party integration where you could be alerted if there was a job that made sense for you to apply to, but now it looks like Upwork has that feature built in, which, oh my gosh, from my perspective, this is fantastic because you only want to apply to the jobs where you're not only super qualified for, but it's a good fit. You don't want to waste your time. And the name of the game is speed. So if you are able to set up alerts, maybe you see some jobs that come through and you're like, yes, I'm a fantastic fit for both of those. You can just instantly apply instead of having to like sift through the job feed.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those super overdue functions where we get push notifications to our phone when they see a job that is a good fit for us. So being able to be notified in real time versus having to hit the refresh button every time you're looking for jobs, it's a win. And now we don't have to use third parties or third party apps to get notified in real time. So take advantage of this one for sure. And then as we keep going down this article about the new features, there's a ton of updates to Uma, which is Upwork's AI tool. And it looks like they're just sort of adding features, making it so that the search is more powerful for clients. And it looks like Uma is actually going to help clients compare proposals now so they don't have to go through each one and they can just ask Uma, what are the key differences between all of these proposals? So hopefully the AI does a good job at understanding our proposals, and hopefully the AI has a good understanding of what a good proposal looks like, because it looks like Uma is going to start being incorporated in pretty much every single thing that clients do on Upwork. So there's a lot of power that Uma is going to have, especially when it comes to our ability to win work. So hopefully we can win Uma over as a freelancer at this point.
So the next feature that caught my attention specifically is this idea of partner verified freelancers. So it says quickly find partner verified freelancers vetted by expert partners to find top tier talent faster and more reliably. Now, I'm kind of confused because Tyler and I are both expert vetted, which we thought was the top of the top. So I'm curious like where this whole partner vetted program fits into everything. And is this another hoop that we need to jump through? Or could this add more value? From first glance, just reading through it, it sounds like, yes, you could be expert vetted by Upwork themselves. Or rather, in addition to that, you could also be vetted by some of Upwork's partners. So, just throwing a silly example, let's say Lululemon does a bulk of their hiring on Upwork. Maybe Lululemon could be a certified partner and able to vet, okay, cool, like Jessica's legit. Jessica's not only expert vetted, but she's partner vetted. Is that your interpretation as well?
Yeah, so when I think about Upwork and why Upwork is successful, a lot of it comes down to their ability to make clients feel like they can trust who they're hiring. And they do that with all of these badges. They have the rising talent, they have top rated, they have expert vetted. And so the more sort of badges and proof that they can provide for freelancers, they've got the ID verified, they've got so many different sort of verifications for their freelancers. And I think that they're just constantly looking for ways to add to that. And this is just another way that they can sort of make clients feel like they're making the right choice, because if a freelancer has worked with another Fortune 500 company, well, they're probably going to do a good job working for you if you're a Fortune 500 company. So again, this is just more of that social proof thing that Upwork does really well. And so if you do find yourself as a freelancer having the opportunity to work with an enterprise level client, then I'm assuming that at some point you can get enterprise client verified or something like that. It doesn't provide us any more information other than that one sentence. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on this and see if it's another one of those badges that you and I have to strive for.
So the next update here has to do with featured jobs. So it says easily stand out and attract the best candidates. Reach top talent with featured jobs, priority placement, automatic invites to qualified freelancers, and smart reminders to help you boost visibility. So the word auto invites catches my attention because that's also a feature of being in the expert vetted program on Upwork. Is they will have people from their team, Upwork will send you invites of jobs that could be relevant to your skill sets. And so this seems like they're just automating that process. So someone on the Upwork team doesn't have to sift through and send these invites out. It's going to be auto sent. So again, efficiency across the board, both on the client side and on the freelancer side. I mean, if I am getting auto invites to jobs that I'm truly qualified for, saves me time. So that's totally fine with me.
All right. So as we keep going down, this is the big one. This is the biggest change that they're making, and it's called instant interviews. And boy, is there a lot of talk about this. So basically, what instant interviews is, according to this, is that how when you look at a job post, sometimes clients will set it up to where you have to answer some preset questions. Well, now instead of that, they can actually force you to do a video interview in your proposal, and it's an interview with an AI tool. So you're actually going to have to sit down at a camera and you're going to be interviewed by an AI in your proposal. So what is your first impression of this, Jessica?
I'm a little skeptical. The only reason I'm skeptical is because you're not going to be working with Uma on the project. Like, if I'm going to be doing an interview, I want to connect with a client. Who am I going to be working with on a day-to-day basis? And I worry that some things might be lost in translation between that interview with Uma and then the actual interview with the client. And it does seem to be somewhat of an unnecessary step so early on in the vetting process. Like, I understand maybe if they were to require a video interview towards the end when you're shortlisted, you're in the final running for a job. But at the beginning, like right after you send a proposal, there's still a lot up in the air.
Yeah, I this is a bit scary for me as a freelancer because if you watch our previous podcast, which is all about how to avoid bad clients, it's a two-way street, right? And if you want to be a successful long-term freelancer, then you need to be really good at avoiding bad clients. And to me, forcing freelancers to go through a video interview, which is not something that is easy to do. It's something that takes a lot of time and effort to do well. And then to have an AI sort of grade your interview based on how it went, it seems like it's putting the cart before the horse. And we are huge proponents of those video discovery calls that you get on where you can actually have a face-to-face discussion with the client before you decide to work with them. But to force freelancers to sort of have an interview with an AI and then have that be graded before they even interface with the client, it seems like you're putting way too much of a burden on the freelancer prematurely. Because guess what? Just because we're submitting a proposal doesn't mean that we don't still need more information from the client to know if it's a good fit for us. So to expect us to sit down for a 15-minute interview, which if you actually look at the image of this bullet point, it looks like this freelancer is having a 15-minute interview with AI. That's a huge time investment for a potential job that we're not even sure is a good fit for us quite yet. So yeah, I'm pretty skeptical about this, only because it seems like a huge time investment for something that is not a sure bet quite yet for the freelancer. And it seems like it's going to lead to those that are best on video are going to start winning projects, regardless of if they were the best qualified or most qualified. So if your video conferencing setup isn't good and your lighting isn't good and your audio isn't good, well, now you're going to start losing out the ability to even get to the next phase in the project, which is talking to the client one-on-one. So it seems like the bar for just getting through the screening process from clients is going up, and we're all going to have to just start getting really good at coming across well on video, regardless of how skilled we are or how qualified we are for that project.
Yeah, you brought up a really interesting point. It's like we're freelancers. This is not a corporate gig. This is not like a corporate employee job where you're going to commit to a company for multiple years. You'll get a 401k, you'll get all these health benefits. No, we're freelancers. Like we have to pay all of that ourselves out of pocket. And so that's just interesting to me that they're just adding another hoop in terms of the hiring process. For what? I mean, this makes me think, like, I better be serious. Like, if I see a job on Upwork, I'm like, "Yes, I will fight for that. I will jump through all of these hoops." But if it's anything less than that, I'm not gonna waste my time.
Yeah, and I'll say this. So when I'm looking at the job feed and I'm scanning for jobs that might be a good fit for me, when I see a job that forces me to sort of answer those cover letter questions where how do you interface with teams, and they ask me all these mandatory questions, most of the time I just don't even apply. And, I might have been a good fit for that project, but because of all these hoops that they want me to jump through just to have the privilege of applying for their job, which I have to pay for, by the way. Now I have to pay for in a bunch of extra time in addition to the connects that I have to submit. So what I think is going to happen is that clients are going to jump on board with this feature. They think it's going to be great. It's like, oh, I can actually see the faces of all these freelancers. I can get a sense for how they speak. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to enable this feature, but all the top freelancers are going to avoid even applying to these jobs because it's just too much of a risk when it comes to their time and when it comes to their connects. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to have less of a pool of freelancers to actually choose from, and they're not going to have the talent levels in the applications that they actually want. And so they're going to pull back on requiring these AI interviews just to submit a proposal. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen, is that the clients that respect freelancers' time, they're going to be able to know, like, by just looking at their proposal, by looking at their video on their profile, yes, this person knows how to speak well, this person knows how to carry themselves, and this freelancer already has all this proof that they're a pro. I don't need to force them to do an interview with AI let's just do a one-on-one call where they're actually talking with me as a human being to a human being, and let's not force them to jump through that hoop. So, yes, clients are going to definitely try this feature out, but I think there's going to be secondary effects that they're not prepared for, and I think it's just going to cut back on the super high-level freelancers like you and me. We're just not going to end up applying to as many jobs as we did before.
So it also looks like Uma is going to be scoring these interviews, but again, there's no insight into the credentials. Like, how is Uma going to be scoring your performance? Is it based off of what the client gives in terms of a directive? Like, there's so many layers to hiring in general. I don't know, maybe the intention is to just download everything to Uma and then she'll conduct these interviews and then shortlist the top freelancers in the running and then they pass it off to the client. But again, if I'm going to be interviewing, I want to know. I want to know what success looks like for this. And it's only a 15-minute interview, but I mean, I'll be preparing and I'll be spending extra time. So, yeah, I'm just very questionable about this whole thing. And I know from a client's perspective, they are overwhelmed with the number of proposals that come through for at least one job post. So I get it. Uma's in place to minimize the number of proposals and maybe just adding in that extra barrier to entry, more or less, that will cut down. I can almost guarantee you that's going to cut down the number of proposals that come through. So, again, maybe making it easier for clients to sift through. I remember hiring on Upwork, and it's very overwhelming from the client's perspective because you have people, some people are tailoring their proposals. You can tell they actually spent time on them, but then other people are just sending out templates like nobody's business. And so it's so hard and kind of stressful, honestly, to sift through everything. So again, maybe having Uma as a barrier to entry will cut down the number of proposals, making it easier for clients to choose the right freelancer.
Yeah, I think for me, what all of this means is that I want to get back to invite only jobs. I think invite only jobs are going to just become more and more valuable because, clients are complaining about how many proposals are coming in on these job posts. So why don't you just go through and Upwork can improve their search algorithm so that clients can go ahead and find and hand select who they want to invite to their job. And so hopefully over time, these invite only jobs become more and more of the jobs on Upwork. And we don't have to do this sort of scramble and just sort of this cattle call for these job posts and sort of have clients just get hand selected so they can actually find through Upwork's search algorithm the exact right freelancers to invite. So instead of having everyone on the website apply to their job, they can just ask 10 or 15 well equipped, well qualified freelancers to apply to their job and really sort of get granular with who they're actually allowing to apply to their jobs. So I think over time, these invite only jobs are going to become more and more important because the cattle call of an open job post is just too overwhelming. And it looks like they're going to have to use AI to sort of decide who gets through their filters. And to be honest, I can't even remember the last time I applied to a public job post. And, I'm doing a lot of work on Upwork on a month to month basis. Most of my jobs come from invite only jobs. And those are the best clients because they've already looked at your profile. They already know that they want to work with you specifically, and you don't have to deal with the cattle call of a public job post. So, like I said, invite only jobs are just going to become the best way to use Upwork.
Yeah, and honestly, thinking about my experience, same. Like, my best clients come from invite only jobs or even just direct messages where the client has spent time sifting through freelancers and then they find my profile and they're like, oh, her skill set matches what we're looking for. I don't think I've landed many clients from submitting proposals. Usually most clients come to me.
Yeah, and the thing about a public job post is it's like it just feels like it's too similar to a job interview process. There's just too much of a time investment and a money investment for something that is not a guarantee, not in the slightest, especially when there's so many people applying. So I just feel like over time as a freelancer on Upwork, you really want to get away from that job feed, because a client that is willing to put out a public job post versus spending the time to actually hand select freelancers that they think are pre-qualified, it's probably not going to be a high value client anyways.
Yeah, and come to think of it, I think the majority of all of my best clients, my best projects, I got a message. I either got a message or a direct invite from a client. Now, I think the main reason behind that is because I have intentionally tried to separate myself from the pack and built out a high value profile, put meticulous effort into all aspects of my Upwork presence. So I think I do attract those high value clients and they can see, okay, gotcha. Jessica's a premium option. And I don't say that to brag, but I just say that to show I've put in a lot of work, an insane amount of work to get up to this point. And that's kind of a result and a benefit of years and years of putting in the work. So the ultimate goal, right, is to get those direct messages from clients and then those invite onlys.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about the instant interviews feature is that now, if you are going to submit proposals in the job feed, obviously just make sure you are super, super qualified before you decide to make the proposal, because now not only are you spending your hard-earned money on spending the connects to submit the proposal, but now you're also spending a significant amount of time actually sitting down and being interviewed by an AI just to even submit your proposal. So it's a huge investment of time and money. And I think you really, really want to, the shotgun approach is not going to work. You really want to make sure if you are going to submit a proposal that you have a really good chance of winning that job, because, there's just so many hoops that you have to jump through now.
And moving on, so this next feature is all about video meetings. So it looks like they're going to do away with Zoom and actually host videos within the Upwork platform. And Tyler and I are obviously super on board with this. We always recommend have a video call. Does not matter if you think the project is in the bag, you think this is going to be fantastic, you love the client. Always have a video call, even if it's just a quick 15-minute, hi, nice to meet you, and then they send the offer. It's just your last opportunity and your last chance to connect with a client and spot any red flags. So love the fact that they're making it easy, having it be in Upwork. And it also looks like you're going to be able to get a transcript and a recap, which I love. My inner project manager loves. That's such a nice touch, and I manually do this with all of my clients. It's just an extra layer of structure that clients really appreciate, but it looks like it's all gonna be done automatically, which is amazing. Saves us time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had issues with clients trying to use the Zoom feature to schedule a call with me. For some reason, it's just the most difficult thing for some clients to schedule those Zoom calls that are incorporated on Upwork. So, whatever they can do, if they can create their own video calling system, I can't wait to try this out, because it actually looks really nice. I'm assuming it's going to be more seamless of a process, and I don't even think that people are going to have to log in with their Google account or their Google Calendar. So it looks like a really good quality of life improvement here. I love the fact that there's a guide for what to go through right on screen with what to talk about. And what's really cool is that Uma, privacy aside, Uma is listening to every single word. And so Uma knows when you've actually talked about what topic. So you talk about the background, you talk about the goals, you talk about the scope of work, and then Uma just checks things off as you go through, that's pretty damn cool. And then obviously you get an AI recap afterwards, which is always nice. So this is looking good.
I love the fact that Uma will help guide conversations because that's a skill that's taken me years and years to develop and to get comfortable. I used to always get nervous on these video calls with clients, and sometimes you get a little nervous, sometimes you clam up and you're like, oh, I should have asked X, Y, and Z, or oh, I should have clarified that. But Uma would be right there with you on the call and would be able to bring up, oh, hey, did you double check X or Y? And I think that would help just guide these conversations. This will be exceptionally helpful for newer freelancers who might not have the reps in on how to lead a great video call.
And moving on, it looks like this is a big one. No more duplicate threads, just one chat. Direct offers now show in your original message thread, making communication smoother and more efficient. This is a big one because we've talked about it in the past, but currently, or how it used to be, was you would have the pre-contract messaging thread with the client, and then when you actually agreed to the contract, it would create a new thread. And so now you had two threads in your inbox, and the client did too. And so a lot of times you wouldn't know which one was the right one to be messaging in. And a lot of times, you'll have to communicate sort of, here's my email, here's my number for certain projects. And if you put the wrong information into the wrong thread, Upwork would actually threaten to ban you because you'd be breaking their terms of service. So now that there's just one thread and you get that contract signed, now you can share personal information, you can share your address so that they can send you stuff or whatever. And so this is going to make it so much less complicated and less treacherous for freelancers.
Yeah, like I can't tell you how many times I would sift through these duplicate message threads trying to find like one piece of information. So I'm very happy that they are condensing that and just making it easier to reference information. Now moving on to the manage and pay section, looks like they have quite a few updates here. The one that I'm most excited about is the fact that you can seemingly change or make edits on your offer, because that's happened to me a lot where a client sends me an offer and maybe I just want to make one little tweak, one little change, and then you got to message the client, and then the client has to I think retract it, edit it, resend it. And so none of that will happen now that you're able to, maybe, I don't even know, like add a comment or request an edit. They approve the edit and then you get the offer signed. So that seems to be a very efficient way just to manage the offer side of things.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one for me because I am constantly getting direct contract invites, and 99 times out of 10, the client set it up as an hourly project, and I don't charge hourly, I charge fixed prices. And so previously, when they sent me an hourly contract invite, I would have to message them back, say, hey, sorry, I charge via fixed rates, and I couldn't edit their offer. They couldn't even edit their offer. And so they had to go back and find me in the list of freelancers and create a whole new job. So this is great that they can, I can change the payment terms and put in exactly what they need to have before I accept that contract.
So for someone who uses milestones a lot on Upwork, it has been just really complicated for no extra reason. I've heard from clients, I've heard from other freelancers, it's not a straightforward process when it comes to milestones. I'm also someone who charges by a monthly retainer for most of my clients, so that looks like a monthly milestone. And it's just overly complicated, and the client always gets confused and then they get irritated. But it looks like that's about to change. Upwork is making some significant changes to just the milestone reminders, which is fantastic. So it looks like you're able to get reminders about milestones and not just having it be this ongoing project, without any end in sight. You're able to move things around, make changes. So I'm very, very happy to see just a bunch of new updates when it comes to the milestone payments.
Yeah, this is a feature I had no idea wasn't a thing, but apparently clients were not being reminded when milestones were due. So, I mean, good job for adding this. It's definitely an upgrade to have a reminder, especially when you have that. For me, I do a 50% deposit on all of my projects. So Most of the time, the clients forget that I'm owed 50% upfront. So hopefully they can start getting pinged after the project starts so that I can get paid. And then hopefully there's less clicks needed to get these milestones approved, because right now I know I have to submit the milestone, and then they have to accept they have to activate the milestone, and then I have to submit approval for completion of the milestone. So I'm hoping that that has been streamlined in some way.
Yeah, I would typically set a reminder for myself separately to go into Upwork and to remind my client about a milestone, which there's just so much extra back and forth there. And then what you just mentioned is like the submission versus approval versus funding. I'd have so many conversations with clients explaining this process, and they just look at me with blank faces like, "Are you serious? We have to do this?" And I'm like, "Trust me, it's gonna be worth it." But it looks like they're making a lot of improvements, so very happy to see this update.
All right, and moving on to the transparency section, it looks like they're making it easier for freelancers to report feedback that might be unfair. I know that one of my buddies who does a lot of work on Upwork, he got a review that was unfair in his opinion, and so it looks like you can actually report these reviews directly from your JSS Insights page, and maybe they'll get back to you faster. I know a lot of freelancers complain about sort of the Upwork support system, especially when it comes to feedback from clients. Maybe there's an unfair client or whatnot. So, I think Upwork could always strive to improve their customer support, because I know when I've had to use their customer support, it's gone fairly well, but I've heard a lot of horror stories from freelancers as well. So hopefully that has been improved.
So the next feature here has to do with suspensions, and it looks like it's coming soon. So suspended users can now submit appeals directly within Upwork. So you don't have to deal with emails or help center tickets. Seems like you can just use Upwork, streamline things, and just make it overall a better process.
Okay, so those were the updates that we felt were worth calling out for those freelancers of you out there. Obviously, the big one is that AI interview feature, where we're going to have to see how that plays out. But our suggestion for that is only go through with that if you really feel like you have a good chance to win that project. And in my opinion, I think clients are going to have to dial that back if they really want the best of the best to apply for their job. So I'm sure this is something that's going to change over time, but it looks like Upwork is fully embracing AI. There's good and bad to that, obviously, but it's all about they're trying to streamline things, and they're using AI to do that. And so if they can streamline things for clients to make it easier for them to hire the best of the best, hey, let's see how it plays out. This is one of those things where us as freelancers, we feel really strongly and we have really strong gut initial impressions. But I always say it's in Upwork's best interest for everyone to win. Upwork makes more money when freelancers make more money. And it's in Upwork's best interest for all freelancers to make more money, because the more money freelancers make, the more of a cut that they can get. And the more clients are spending on the platform, the more of a cut they can get. So I would encourage all of you who have really strong opinions about some of these changes to take a step back, temper your emotions a little bit, and see how this plays out on a long enough timeline, because I think Upwork has shown that they are adaptable, they're willing to take feedback. And if you look at our biggest problems with Upwork video from a few months ago, a lot of those changes that we called out, they have implemented fixes for. And so I think that's encouraging. Let us know what you think in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what your favorite new features are. What are you most worried about for these features, and what are you most happy about? And looking forward to seeing what you guys think. And then, as always, if you are looking for more support when it comes to Upwork, we will be launching our coaching program on School soon. And so if you're interested in that, shoot me an email and we're going to get you added to the pre-launch launch exclusive pricing group that you can only get if you email me before we go live. So shoot me an email if that's interesting to you. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one, and happy freelancing.